have such sights to show you.
Get away from her, you bitch!
What a plonker.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from a prison camp on Genosha, we have Hunya Geek is showing. And with me, as always, is the Queen of Mean. She makes them scream, and apparently she has a mutant X gene. It's the lovely Miss Fives.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome, my sweet tortured souls, to another fantastic episode of Hunya Geek is showing.
Right, and with us tonight, this is a special episode, by the way, folks. It's very, very, very special, and you are very lucky, and so are we, to have special guests with us, Mr. Eric and Julia Lewald. Animation royalty, ladies and gentlemen. The showrunner and writer of X-Men. The good one. Not the original, the good one.
The best one.
The best one, yes. Well, that's still to be seen.
Oh, well, yeah, there is the follow-up show. We'll talk about that later on, though.
Yes. Well, we'll try, because I imagine you have NDAs.
Oh,
yeah. We can talk a little bit. Bit.
We can talk release date and premise, and I think that's about it.
Oh.
I have an official statement.
Julie has a statement from us and Marvel.
On November 12th, 2021, Disney Plus Marvel announced its production of the show X-Men 97, a continuation of X-Men the Animated Series. Together with producer-director Larry Houston, we have been brought on board to the show as consulting producers. We are gratified, thrilled, and pleased. Beyond that, we have no comment.
There we go. Then.
We have a little look up. She's every time the fans run up at a convention. She doesn't show this to them, but she has it in her head.
Well, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah. We don't want to spoil it.
No,
exactly.
Don't.
I want to go into it nice and blind.
Oh, I don't know. I want all sorts of little bits of spoilers.
Well, the fact that it's happening, the fact that they're calling it X-Men 97, the fact that they have announced that it is picking up as like a 6th season for X-Men, the original animated
continuation.
series.
It's not different people, not a different universe, not a spin-off. It's just as if, a short time after you just saw episode 76 of our show, there are more episodes with the same people.
Yeah.
And they try to make it look as close to ours as humanly possible in 2022. 2023 now.
I say season 1 through 4 versus season 5 on the animation.
The animation in season 5 was a little bit.
Yeah,
it was done. It was. There's a. Well, we can talk.
Jarring. It was jarring going from one style to the other so quick for me. I was like.
But there were some stories in season 5 that
we still enjoyed
my heart. Still tug my heart.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the final episode, especially.
Oh, graduation day. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that episode alone just broke my heart as a child. It really, really did. Which is a difficult thing to do when you look like this.
But no, that I think I'm jumping in here, but a thing that we're talking about it 30 years later that set X-Men, the animated series, apart was the fact that you and your head writer, Mark Edens, when you got tapped in February 1992 to develop a show that was going to go on the air supposedly in September 1992 in animation, that's not enough time.
Yeah.
But you guys sat down and said, all right, we're going to swing for the fences. The point of these stories is not that they're big, bright colors and things explode. It's that each of these characters has an internal heartbreak, a story, an issue that can be addressed while there's bright colors and explosions. Talk about the humanity of it.
Yeah, they're adult people, and
they're adults.
We just really wrote it like we were thinking about if they were 20-somethings in a movie,
right,
or in real life, and it happened to be cartoon superhero-sized action going on in the background, but that was the secondary thought, and that seemed to work well because there's so much fun in a comic book. It's like the kind of professional wrestling thing. Well, will these 4 powerful mutants be able to take on these 3 powerful mutants? So who's going to win? That's all very exciting and fun, but that's kind of one story, and that's not the. If you could have to tell 76 different half-hour stories about these real people, that if you just focus on that, it gets kind of old. So we looked at the other side of the thing and thought of them as people who happen to be put in these heroic, tragic situations.
Yeah.
And that made the storytelling easier for us and more satisfying.
Definitely, I can imagine so.
Yeah, because you've got, love triangles going on while you're saving the world. You've got,
Yeah, all the stuff with Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well written. Like the way Wolverine handled it sometimes, where he was in the scene that always pops out in my head is on their wedding day when he's in, is it the Danger Room?
Yeah.
Going absolutely ballistic. You can see there is nothing but anger in him. And like you said, it was done very believably. As a kid, I believed what was going on.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, because being an old fart, I saw Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends when it aired. And that to me was sort of looking back on it, whereas
it played to its demographic.
X-Men treated you like an adult.
Yeah. It was adult stories for children, essentially.
Yeah. As a result, there's no, what's the word? Condescension. That's the word.
Yeah.
We got to back up the tape here and sort of start at the beginning of the beginning, which was in the United States up until 1990, 1990. We had 3 major networks here in the US: ABC, NBC, CBS, and everything else with your locals would have some syndicated shows.
But that was 95% of the programming
of the country.
And there'd be 3 people that basically had a say over, we'll take that show or what takes a show. One
network programming people. There were 3 people.
And they just didn't get the excitement of superhero comics.
For Saturday morning.
They looked people that might want to do a serious X-Men show would pitch it to them. And say, nah, this is just for some pimply boys in their basements. That nobody's going to watch this.
Yeah.
And luck. So finally, 1990, Margaret Lesh, who was our boss, was made president of this new network, the new Fox
network that was
the Fox network.
Fighting.
This little bitty network that was a tenth the size of the other network when it started, and so they were able to take risks.
She was willing to take chances that no one else was willing to take.
Even if the other networks had gotten the idea of why the X-Men could be a good show, they never would have let us do a tenth of the adult stuff.
No, not
they would have said, no, this is a little kid show.
It's a Saturday morning show.
Yeah. Stop with the romance, stop with the
anguish,
ferocious, the anguish and the tragic heartbreaks, and let's have a little fun and blow up some cities.
Make it more bad guy versus good guy.
Absolutely. And stop with the sympathy for Magneto and complicated gray areas between villains and
kids can't track that. What are you doing?
Yeah. And we just always want to shake those people and say, don't you remember being an 8 or 9-year-old child and want to challenge it? And a challenging story came along. You didn't understand half of it, but it excited you. And your 15-year-old brother got it and you wanted to get it. So why not write for ourselves? Why not write, challenging stories? And Margaret got it.
Margaret Lesh.
So she just said, do it, run, do a lot of it, do it more.
As Eric and I, again, backstory time, we just celebrated our 33rd wedding anniversary on Friday.
Yo, we saw that. Happy anniversary.
On Twitter.
But we met behind me here at Disney as animation writers. My first job in animation my first job writing professionally in Los Angeles was for Disney Afternoon, for Chippendales and Winnie the Pooh and Dark Duck and Goof Troop and that whole. And you were in the office next door doing the same thing.
They're wonderful people and talented, and it was 3 great years for us there. And we learned so much, but they had a very narrow view. Okay, these are the kind of stories we're going to tell to children, and that's fine. And they did a beautiful job of it, and we owe them a lot. But they never would have tried anything near what we were able to do with X-Men.
And I'm proud, and I love the work I did at Disney. But I'll say that when X-Men came along at that time for Fox Kids, a revolution was happening. Yeah. And this was the first time that as a you are the showrunner story editor for the whole series of X-Men. I'm one of the writers who got to write episodes and pitch episodes and sort of be a fly on the wall for the whole series run. That's who we are in relation to the show. And one of the edicts that Margaret Loesch gave all of us writers was, do not write down to kids. You write this as if it's an hour-long prime time drama in live action on TV at night. And I'd never heard those words before in my corner of the universe.
We haven't heard them many times after. We didn't look back now, and there's this golden age of about 8 or 9 years where we got to write shows like this. Yeah. And then they kind of forgot that they were successful. Or new people came along, or there's taste change, and there's fashions in TV, and you go from action adventure, was expensive to make, by the way, to quirky comedies, to something younger. And as the decades have gone along, more and more kids are playing video games and not watching television, and not buying the toys that support animated that pay for animated television. So it became less and less spectacular. Action shows like X-Men became less and less profitable and interesting to the people around us. And that's another story. But for those 5 years, it was great.
So another person we have to mention. So Margaret Loesch, as the president of Fox Kids, one of her first edicts was, I am going to put on a Batman animated show, and I'm going to put on an X-Men animated show on my network. And that's how those two got jump started. The other person who deserves all the credit in the world is the broadcast standards and practices person at Fox, otherwise known as the censor.
Yes.
And the person at Fox Kids is a woman named Avery Coburn, and she got it. She respected the books in the 1990s. She knew the books, and she respected them.
And she had absolute veto, absolute
power.
Any bit of dialogue, bit of action, or anything, she said, no, can't have it in there. Done. No, can't do this story. Forget about. And there would be times where we would start out, and she'd say, "Oh, this is too much, Harry. You're way too." And we would have about a 10-day diplomatic mission back and forth with our fax machine, faxing before emails. Guy says, "Well, come on, Avery, maybe if we adjust." Okay. She says, "Okay, we want to kill one of the X-Men in the first story."
And really? I'm going, what?
We're not doing it for gratuitous. We're doing it to show the tragic sacrifice and how there's consequences to being an X-Men. All this is okay. Look, I get it. I trust you, but here are some of my rules. It has to be off screen. It can't be this. It can't be that. And we went back and forth, and we negotiated a middle ground where we could have more die in the first story, and that's. But almost any other censor we've worked with over 30 years would just say, no, end of discussion, do something else.
Weren't even open to looking at the context of why it's there.
It was to prove that this is not the fight of the week. There are consequences. Bad things can
later on down the line, especially with the death of Morph and everything. And we did talk previously about this, that apparently people wanted the audience wanted him to come back so much that you had to kind of figure out a way how to bring him back that was actually believable.
A 7-year-old focus group.
That was it. 7-year-old focus group when he's Morph back.
It's too funny. We go through all that trouble to be able to kill somebody, or the better way to say it is to show tragic sacrifice, heroic sacrifice. And then we asked, can we please have it back? They knew. The executive that called us knew. Oh, he was so embarrassed. So I know what you've been through, but please, the kids love this character.
Well, and I think when they interviewed that group of 7-year-old kids midway through the first season, you guys made such a point of giving Morph the heart of each of the characters. You saw him interact with each of the main X-Men. You saw each of them love him, like him, laugh with him, enjoy him. So
we made him too likable.
So
there
the grief of his loss was so powerful, was so important. Was so important.
Green that actually said in the episode, Morph was the only one of you that I actually liked. or something to that.
Yeah, that could ever make me laugh.
Morph is the only one who could ever make me laugh. Yeah.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then
oh,
if you go back and watch and we encourage anybody who has access because it's on Disney Plus now,
yes,
and we're
it is on
excited that
Disney
it's
Plus.
finally back. The opening two-parter, Night of the Sentinels, when Morph dies, it is off screen, but you see everyone's reaction. And we've heard from more people when Jean says, "I don't sense him," and Professor Xavier says, "I don't either."
Yeah.
There's no blood, there's no but it's just your stomach falls out of you. And then when you come back and they've landed and they're coming off of the Blackbird, and Cyclops, who's made the hardest decision of his leadership career.
Yeah.
Wolverine, I know how you feel. And Wolverine punches him, just knocks the wind out of him. Avery Coburn let us do that.
Yeah.
One time, that kind of punch.
That's a real reaction. That is a real reaction.
And next time I use these, the claws come out, but it was so visceral and important to show what his death meant to everyone in the team.
Yeah, the emotion
it just
caused to them all, especially Wolverine, because we know Wolverine is a character. If you know anything about the character going into the show, you know his emotions are very up and down, you know. So for him to react like that, you know it's hurt him, and he does not deal well with emotional pain. Physical pain, he heals, he can deal with it. Emotional pain, he's a mess. He really is a mess, Wolverine. So. But going back to what you were saying, like some of the things you had to cut, I do remember in one of our previous conversations, you were on about the episode with Nightcrawler where you couldn't show the burning church, so you had to change it to a monastery.
Yeah. There was back and forth.
Episode called Nightcrawler, which focuses on the introduction of the character of Nightcrawler in a sort of German-Swiss environment where Wolverine, Rogue, and Gambit have gone snow skiing.
Up in the Alps, and that was a very delicate one. There was a long list. There's the only time we had a list for the artists saying, okay, we're gonna have a monastery, but we don't want to show, say, Jesus on the cross. We want to, if every possible way, minimize specific
the iconography
images that might offend a certain denomination of okay, we know it's a Christian monastery because Nightcrawler is going on about the Bible and how God means to him. So we know it's not, it's not Muslim, it's not Hindi, but she said she had a long list of things. And at first she said, "Oh, you can't burn the church." And that was when we went back and forth about it. Okay, you can burn this monastery a bit,
and the library,
yes, have it start in the library. Don't have it start. So it was again very, very much back and forth on that, and just the fact that was another one of those moments in the morning over coffee, like you're going to ask her to let you do a whole episode about faith. We can't. We usually can't even mention God.
No.
It's like
cross, back off.
It's like a 4-letter word. It's like a curse word or something. You can't do this in children's stuff. No. If we're going to introduce Nightcrawler, I mean, in the comic books, that's the main. Yeah. That's the main thing about him is his face. We don't want to have. We don't have to do it. We don't want to have a Nightcrawler light come in that doesn't. Hearing. Again, Margaret Lesh and her hands-on assistant Sydney, I want her to push. Don't hold back. Push the religious stuff. If Avery's going to let you do it, have that be the center of the episode, and have Wolverine find somebody else struggling with his face. And that was that was the first decision we made when we were doing the story. Okay, we're introducing Nightcrawler. Who might have a struggle with faith? Well, Jubilee's not gonna.
Julie's like
she's 13. Could have had her on the
that's true, you could have.
She's 13. She probably hasn't even thought about it very deeply. Wolverine's 95. He's probably found faith 4 different times and lost it. So he's the one that needs to meet Nightcrawler and be faced with Nightcrawler's passionate faith. And have it knock him for a loop. Because it's not going to knock Gambit for a loop. He's just going to,
which is interesting.
He's going to smoke a cigarette and say, screw it all.
Going to eat a shit cocktail outside and go, I have no interest in this, which I found interesting too. It's not a proselytizing episode. It's an examination of faith. And I think that's an incredible thing to have managed to tell in 22 minutes. Because I'm remembering, told me, thinking the story. Okay, Nightcrawler. Okay, so, somewhere in icy, snowy Europe. I think the basis for the story was a discovery of a cache of Nazi gold that it was going
to be like snowmobile action.
Yeah.
And
No,
our executives, to their credit, just said, no, pare it down, simplify it, make it about these two characters. And
the point of the story is
about Wolverine having to consider his own faith and forget about all the usual explosions and stuff. We had the fire, but really there wasn't much action.
The mob. You had the mob attacking the monastery.
Right. We had the mob at the beginning, kind of a Frankenstein movie.
I did like that.
Bavarian village mob.
Did feel that was very much a tip of the hat to the old monster movies of old.
It
gave me that proper, Frankenstein, Dracula kind of 1950s vibe, and I was like, I love that. Guy, anything you want to add?
Oh God, no. I'm just having the great fun listening to it. It's great.
Are you fanboying out a little bit over there?
I am fanboying out a little bit, I must admit. So I'll have a little drink.
Let me say, if you go back to the Nightcrawler episode, I want to say it's season 4, but wherever it is, you can find it easily enough. There's a moment in the ski lodge and it's a slow pan across the ski lodge to our people coming in. If you look real close, there are some cameos that Larry Houston are amazing.
The artists would put them in all the time. Doctor Strange is there, standing there in civilian clothes
with Clea. MJ is there drinking from a mug with a spider on it, wearing a spider sweater.
I never noticed that.
But they're there, and it's like when we look back, it's like, how did he get? Well, we know how he did it. He didn't call them out.
He never told anybody in authority that he was doing it. So he was able to sneak that stuff in. But for fans to find it later, it's great fun.
I can't remember which episode it is, but speaking of cameos, that one that always pops out for me is where it's doing like flashes of different cities, and it does New York, and you see someone in the shadows shooting webs.
Yes.
Spidey's arm.
Who that is?
Or is it Norse mutant with a hand?
No, there's another one with and there's Thor standing atop a building somewhere with his hair flowing, and the Watcher and Black Panthers, sitting on a mountain in Africa. Yeah. And that was just that was
but
Larry.
They're never called out that way.
And Larry will always, Larry Houston, our beloved producer, will always talk about. He said early on in episode 3 or 4, he tried to write in something about Spider-Man, and he got a note back from the attorney saying, "Oh no, you don't have the rights to any of these characters.
But you own them all. You're multiple."
No, you don't understand. Just don't do it. Don't bother.
Yeah.
And so then the next, he did the thing with the wrist. He didn't say Spider-Man's wrist on the storyboard. He just said,
mutant number 3.
Yeah, mutant number 3. Wrist in, and so they never called about it after that, because he wouldn't. If it was Thor, it would be Norse mutant standing on building.
Norseman and his hammer. That's what he
Norseman
called it.
And his hammer. So nice. It wasn't a copyrighted or trademark character, supposedly. But it was
Alien Observer.
Yeah.
Not the Watcher, but the Alien Observer.
So that was these.
Yeah.
I like that.
Adults in their 30s and 40s that produce these shows have to have fun. We have to make them for ourselves.
Yeah.
When we can.
And plus now I have even more of an excuse to go back and watch the whole thing again to see if I spot all these different cameos.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. And I think I think Doctor Strange makes the most uncredited appearances because he's the handsome, bland guy.
He's in 6 or 7 places. He's at a wedding.
He's at the 2 weddings, I think.
Yeah, both.
And J. Jonah Jameson is at the first wedding in season 2. I'm just saying, go look at the guests in the opening of season 2.
Wow, I don't remember JJ being there.
I'm going to be pausing every scene now. Just every scene when there's more than 2 or 3 characters, I'm going to pause it and double check.
There you go.
Oh, now I'm just even more fanboying out now.
Okay, one of my they're all favorites, but and is it Phoenix or Dark Phoenix? There's a moment in that where Beast comes walking out of an office building and he's wearing a t-shirt and he's got a jacket, which is when he's out in public, it's like, oh, God bless you, Beast. No one but the t-shirt is an image of Howard the Duck. and it goes by real fast, but it's Howard the Duck because the artist who worked on Howard the Duck books had just come over to work on X-Men the Animated Series. Frank Brunner.
Yes, Brunner.
I do remember that one.
You put that in.
That one,
So that's why that one's there. Yeah.
I'm kind of a closet Howard the Duck fan. Not gonna lie.
Well,
I like the George Lucas film. I'm sorry.
Well, now you can go back and look for Howard the Duck Flash by
I'm gonna do
these T-shirt.
Why do I end up saying this every week? You're a silly demon. Silly demon.
I'm sorry.
So it's just one of these things. I end up saying this every single time.
But so then, quickly skewing away from X-Men, I know you did do a little bit of work on a show that a certain someone over here doesn't like to talk about. You did a little bit of work on one of my personal favorites, Gargoyles, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. That was yes, we did.
And that was a fun year. We had worked for Disney, and this was after we left, and they called us up and just said, "Would you guys like? We're doing one more season." Friend of ours at Disney had done Gargoyles, Greg Wiseman. It was basically his baby.
It was his baby.
From beginning, middle to end. He lives it. He's got the encyclopedia out.
He made this thing.
I followed it.
Reads it. And so, but they for whatever reason, Greg was not available, or he didn't want to, or they didn't want him, whatever reason was, we got a call and say, well, the people here at Disney have looked through everything we've got, and one of the things they're high on is the 65 episodes we've got of Gargoyles, and it seems kind of like it's resolved itself, but they just bought ABC television. They just bought a television network, and they had 10.5 hours to fill.
Follow the money, people. Follow the money.
And they said, well, what from our library can we put in there? Should we just do another couple episodes of Gargoyles? And so, well, yeah, that one's popular. Let's try that. And Michael Eisner, the head of Disney, said, well, yeah, but make it different.
Yeah.
In other words, this is not like with our X-Men 97 thing here. Is okay, it's the same characters, but we want a different spin on it. Okay, maybe you put it in the US or whatever. So for the fans, the season that we did,
season 3,
was not really to canon. I mean,
Gargoyles, the Goliath Chronicles.
Gargoyles, the Goliath Chronicles, and it was beautifully produced.
I got a nomination,
and we had great fun writing it, and we got to work with some of our best friends working on it. But I think if you're a Gargoyles fan, it's the thing that they maybe kind of wished they hadn't done, which is a little awkward for us. We meet people, oh, I love Gargoyles. I said, yeah, well, kind of, we did the spin-off the year after that really didn't fit with the first. So that's this mixed. We have this ambivalent feeling to it. It was a good creative experience for us, and we think it's a nice little show, but it doesn't quite fit with the main one.
Yeah,
the one that it doesn't quite fit with the main one.
I did still enjoy the third season. I will fully hold my hands up. Comparing it to the first 2 seasons, there was a change. I'm not going to say it got worse. There was a change because it did not get worse, in my opinion. I still enjoyed the stories that it told, right the way through to the end of it, where the Gargoyles were finally accepted and everything. I was like, see, I can go with that ending and enjoy it because it's
thank you.
It's nice.
They finally got peace. That's what they wanted all along. That's how it ends. I'm fine with that. So I personally count it as canon. A lot of people don't, but for me, it is. So
thank you for that.
And nice, Guy, you've got even more of an excuse to go and watch it now.
What?
You can watch just the 3rd season. Apparently, it stands on its own. There you go.
Oh, great.
Or rewatch X-Men.
or rewatch X-Men, yeah.
Well, if I had the choice, I think I'm going to go X-Men.
Where are you going to go with that one? But I think we're going to start wrapping up now. We've been going for about half an hour, Guy.
No, we're not. No, we're carrying on.
So
this bitch going on all night.
What else can we tell you about? What?
Oh, I have a question, and also a little request, if it's not too late. Would it be possible to have Wolverine in the brown and yellow suit, please?
People have been coming to us, and I understand that, online on Twitter, because I've for the last several years been trying to build up a little sort of X-Men, the animated series family community kind of thing on Twitter. And honestly, that may be one of the the biggest
most
main requests. Can you please? And I
That's
have
how I
to
first saw him.
Well, and you're not alone. Oh, whoa, obviously you're not alone. We just got something flash up here. Let me get rid of that.
They go, look at that.
Oh,
There
golly
he
gosh.
is.
Hey, I might.
There he is.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
There he is. He's right
yes.
there. You got him right there.
And
There he is.
in what is it? Pride of the X-Men, that one
Yeah.
off.
Oh, right.
He's the downside is he's Australian.
Yeah,
And
that's a big downside.
there's a reason he's Australian, because this is what happens when the wrong people are in charge. Margaret Loesch was working at Marvel at that time, trying to make an episode of an X-Men series that she could show like a pilot. And she scraped and clawed, got some money. I think she took it from a RoboCop cartoon, made Pride of the X-Men. But there were people above her who were saying, no, you got to put this person in. You have to, this isn't going to work. And then one of the guys above her said, you know what? Kids don't know what a Canadian accent is. That doesn't count. But you know what a big film was? Crocodile Dundee. Kids love Australia.
That made $1 billion. Make him Australian.
And
literally, that's where the stupid decision was made. And the creative people, many of whom worked on our show, who hated these ideas, had no power or leverage to stop them from being implemented.
At that time.
So they just had to be good soldiers, and because it's pretty to look at. The show is attractively animated.
Yeah, I was having a look at it earlier.
Yeah.
It was over on YouTube.
But so that is why you ended up with an Australian Wolverine.
Yeah.
Crocodile Dundee. There you go.
The suit was great. The brown suit was great in that.
Yes.
But that accent.
And you asking us or telling us you want to see the original Wolverine.
I would love it. But just
we can't do anything about that except accept your request. Can I say that? That's all we can do.
There you go.
Cal Dodd in a brown suit, and I am happy. Because Cal Dodd is the voice of Wolverine whenever I read the comics.
Yeah.
Along with the
I'll
rest
give
of
him
the
that.
Yeah.
Before Eric, you've got the story.
Oh,
so when X-Men the Animated Series was going forward to be made and to be recorded, that one-off hadn't gained a lot of traction. So it was the first time casting for the voices that we all know in the show for this series.
Yeah, and so there was the gentleman that was in charge of all the X-Men comics when we got on board in February '92, named Bob Harris, wonderful guy.
In New York. You got to understand this was 1990. There was no internet. Everybody was in a different place.
Yeah, and there was just this modest-sized comic books company. They didn't own the world.
Yeah, they were on their ass a bit.
No movies, no real TV shows.
They were having financial problems.
They were 4 years away from bankruptcy. So there's this little company, but Bob was running at the time 3 or 4 X-Men comic titles because it was their number one seller
at Marvel in New York.
That was kind of keeping them above water and as they were struggling along. And Bob had earned his place as supervising editor for all the X-Men because he'd spent the last 30 years of his life absorbing everything X-Men. He'd read every word that was ever written in every one of the stories. And so he'd done them since, I guess, his teens. And when he went up there, when they did casting
in Canada,
in Toronto, Canada, which is actually fairly close to New York City, so it wasn't a trip for him.
Yeah,
it was for other people. Yeah, but so there was a bad casting run where at first they did the voices very cartoony, and everybody despaired and thought, "Well, the show's over."
Because there's a big voice talent pool in Canada, but they've been doing animation a certain way up until this point.
And so they said, "Okay, we all need to go." 2 or 3 people from LA and three people from New York went and sat with him and said, "No, you really don't understand. We don't want this to sound like Scooby-Doo. We want this to sound like these people to sound like serious adult people that are in these realistic situations." And so Bob's there with them for like a week and a half doing intensive casting and hearing people like Cal Dodd come in and suddenly embody Wolverine or Rogue, Lenore Zahn coming in and suddenly, oh my God, that's Rogue. And he once pulled us aside and said, "You don't know how surreal that was. The goosebumps on the back of my neck, where I lived with these people for 10, 20, 30 years, depending how long they'd been with the X-Men, because some of them were more recent, but some of them went back to 1963. And I said, they've been inside me, and I know them like family, but I had an imaginary sound to their voice, all their voices in my head. And now suddenly I'm seeing on screen, and it's this specific, it's Cal Dodd, and it's right and it's real, but it's like, but it's at the same time, it's brand new. And he said, no, it's weird, one of the weirdest experiences of his life, seeing the characters that he'd gotten to know so well come to vocal audio life in front of him.
And I'm telling you, those are the voices. Anytime I see an image of X-Men, it doesn't matter what what medium or what form.
Same.
The X-Men animated series voices are the ones I hear in my head.
Whether I'm reading books, looking at my action figures, no matter what it is, I look at those specific characters, Wolverine, Rogue, Beast. I hear the voices from the cartoon, and I don't even have to like try to think what it sounds like. I just look at them and boom, it's there. It's just.
I remember when George Buza, who's the voice of Beast, went into audition, and so when they were auditioning, they started to expand out the voice talent pool they were drawing from to bring people in, realizing Toronto is a big theater.
Very serious theater.
Yeah.
So they started bringing in
city
theater people with these big voices, and George Buza didn't know the books and was looking at the character, and I think Sidney Iwanter said to him, "So what do you want me?" What he asked, "Well, how do you want me to do this?" Don't make him sound blue. Like Sidney's direction. Blue.
Okay.
No, but okay, fine, great. And Wolverine, when Cal Dodd came in and he's starting to play with the microphone and just, what do you want me to do? Sidney's there and Rob is there, and they haven't heard him talk yet.
Yeah, and Sidney says he's feral.
And in that moment, Cal
Dodd growl.
He just starts growling, and that's when the hair.
Everybody jumps up and in the recording booth. Do that again.
Don't let it leave. That's our Wolverine.
But yeah, that scream he does when he charges into fight. I get goosebumps just hearing that. It's and the way he says "bub." Oh,
bub. Was it on the end? Bub.
Yeah, it's like bub. At the end of it.
Well, then let us take a moment that we don't have them all with us still. We lost the voice of our Cyclops. Norm Spencer passed in the last 3. These last 3 years have been a disaster for the whole world. But that his passing, he I think he's the character of Cyclops is easily dismissed as the Boy Scout of the team, but I truly believe had the hardest part keeping this group of absolutely, these are a bunch of cats in a bag. Everyone's different. Everyone's got their own issues. I've said to you, if Rogue and Wolverine swapped their mutant abilities, if she couldn't touch someone if she could touch anybody but not have to use her claws, she would be fine. If Wolverine couldn't touch someone without causing them harm but didn't have his adamantium, he'd be fine. He'd go out, run off, and live in the woods. He wouldn't care. Yeah. She would carefully not use the claws, but she could touch people. Each of them had the thing.
Credit the Marvel writers for giving them superpowers that complemented their own personal vulnerabilities.
Yes.
And built their characters around that. And that's just something that, we pushed it and we ran with it, but it was there. It was all there for us to build on. So give them all the credit.
Like
Chris Claremont, wow.
Like I said earlier with Wolverine, like, the guy who can heal any wound physically, but his emotional wounds, they're open and raw pretty much 24/7. So that's
and we often think about, hey, wouldn't it be, immortality, wouldn't that be nifty? It's like, I've lived officially long enough now. to love people and to lose people is that's hard. And then in his case, to have lived longer than anybody on the team and know that he's going to continue to outlive them on. And just know that it's like, oh my God, that's a nightmare to me.
I feel that's why he keeps everybody at a distance, because it's not for them, it's for himself. He's protecting himself.
And I think he's lived long enough to earn that because he's gone through it so often.
Well, it's that episode where he visits the graves of his old World War II unit.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the survivors think that he's the son.
Yeah, old soldiers.
Old soldiers, written by Len Wein, who is the fellow who was co-creator of Wolverine.
Yes.
Who was just a wonderful guy, wonderful guy.
Became a dear friend and passed recently.
Yeah, and he was able to write. He created so many characters in the comic universe.
Swamp
but
Thing.
It was at that time when it was New York and LA and Never the Twain Shall Meet. He had moved out to Los Angeles, and you hadn't been made aware of that until the second season, I think.
Yeah, I was terribly embarrassed. We wrote an entire season without asking him to be part of to write stories for us, and because I didn't know he was out here. and I called it, this is Eric. The X-Men series. Yeah, we've done a year without you, but we'd love for you to come and write. And so he ended up writing 4 of them, but
Old Soldiers. I'm sorry, interrupting, but Old Soldiers, Captain America. And when you approached him about doing one last, episode for the final season, he said, "Well, I'll do it if I can do Captain America." Well, we just told you how we couldn't get these characters for cameos, much less.
And they told us no, but Len called, and it took a few weeks of talking to Marvel.
And then it's like, do you guys realize this is Len Wein? This is the guy who created this stuff,
Yeah.
So they let us
use Captain America for that one episode.
And it's a
fantastic episode.
It's a very, very moving episode as well, especially the ending.
And if you go back and watch that one too with an eye, there's a moment where the two of them have to go up a steep cliff face, and Captain America pulls out the reverse claws. Yes, you got it. Yep. So Len said, "Look, he doesn't have bone claws. He has adamantium that was put in his body later. He doesn't have bone claws organically." So when he went back in time, so going back to that story,
they gave him
he didn't have adamantium claws. That was from Len Wein's mouth. Do with it what you will, but that's his take.
There's an argument among the fans.
Yes,
there is lots of arguments about that one. Yeah, did he have the claws before? Didn't he? Are they bone? Are they not? I'm in the camp of they weren't. I'm very much in the camp of it's part of the adamantium process. It's a side effect.
Yeah,
his healing factor and everything. It's all a side effect.
I'm in the camp that whatever Len Wein wanted to say about it, I'm willing to go with it.
I'm agreeing with you on that one as well.
Yeah, we're not going to argue with Len Wein.
No. But, right,
so I guess we had better address the elephant in the room for a little bit, as much as you can. Not you. So, what's the release date for X-Men 97? Go.
Yeah. We have been allowed to say it's this fall.
Yes, it's this year.
Fall.
And that's all happening. We were told that like months and months and months and months ago. We've seen scripts.
Oh my gosh.
We've seen a few minutes of animation. Ooh. And it's really our production people from our show are so jealous. It's ridiculous. We had about 7 months to come up with the series and do the first season.
Yeah.
They will have had 3 years from the time they committed to it to the time it goes on the air this fall.
Yeah.
So and wonderful Marvel budgets. So the spectacle will be like, to our eye, it's like feature quality spectacle.
Oh my God, we are so
which is pretty amazing. As you know, some of the voices are the same. They are employing 9 or 10 of the original. I don't know the exact number. Don't quote me on this, fans. But there are a number of the people from the original show, including Rogue reprising her voice as Rogue, and Beast, and Cal Dodd as Wolverine, and
that's happening, and we're thrilled about that.
And that was a very happy day when that was announced.
Wasn't that just?
Yeah.
Because listen, we live out here, and people don't often get invited back to the party. And for them to have reached out to the voice talent that way.
Oh yeah,
it's to me wonderful. I
think there would have been an uproar if they had. To be fair,
and the great thing for fans is, however, the gentleman Bonamaya, who's it's absolutely his baby. Yes. It has been from the beginning. He made the pitch to Marvel. They liked it. He's run with it.
Oh
he is a crazed X-Men fan that not only knows our show better than we know our show, but knows all the X-Men books before, during, and after better than we could ever pretend to.
Yeah.
And he'd had some other experiences in television writing rooms, and so
major stuff.
And but he made it a policy. He said, I'm not going to hire any writer who isn't a crazed fan of the original show
for X-Men
because he's had experience before where people were like indifferent to the property. We'll write an adventure story. I don't care about the X-Men or the books. Or it was everybody. It probably goes down to every artist and all the support people. Everybody that they hired was a crazed fanboy for the original show. So
very hard.
So whatever you love about it or questions you have about it, the show is coming from passionate respect and love of the original.
Yes.
And it'll have all, they have their own, visions about what can be done with the X-Men. It's not going to be exactly the same as what we did. The world has changed.
It can't be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it's not. But you're gonna see the care in the show when it comes out. What the what they did to connect with and respect what we did.
We're humbled and grateful and really.
It could have been almost anything. We've been involved all sorts of shows out here. Forget about what they did before. Just do your own show.
Yeah.
And that's hey, that's their priority. That's on them.
And it's their money. Okay, fine, we'll do that. Yep. But no, in this case, it's
we're very excited.
Yeah.
We also see you as sort of caretakers of the flame that was that show.
Yes.
Passing the torch, as they say.
And a bit that just came out in July at San Diego Comic-Con was that we were there having a panel, and the new guy, Bo DeMaio, the guy stood up, and Larry Houston, who was our director. You saw that. He just stood up and said, "Larry, I've just got permission to ask you, can you do the opening credits for the new series?" And Larry said, "Well, yeah." And so
he's responsible for the original opening credits of the original series.
He and Will Mineo did the opening title together. And as I said, astoundingly, drew it in about 3 days.
The first one,
And the opening title is so specific, is so clever and so beautifully done. We look back and there's certain things that just leap out from the show. There's if we had done that poorly, maybe the audience might not have been hooked in the show as much. The title music.
The music.
All credit to Ron Wasserman.
Ron.
That.
Yes, we both had the pleasure of speaking to Ron before.
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
He's a lovely man.
Lovely bloke, yeah.
And didn't he create the two most important earworms from that decade between X-Men and then Power Rangers?
Exactly.
Honest to God. Unbelievable.
And don't forget Sweet Valley High.
Right.
Exactly.
Rachel.
Yeah. So all credit to him. I can show you something pitching here.
Just a
funny thing here. So if you watch the title credits, and I forget if I mentioned this earlier, but the book opens with the
storyboards.
So you can hear your head. So pay attention here. We go to Beast, and we go from Beast. We go to Gambit throwing cards at the camera. Right. Take a closer look.
Pause your television when you get to Gambit's cards.
Why?
Because
the ace of spades is upside down.
The tip is upside down.
Never noticed that until we did this book. And so we go back and find the original storyboards with Larry, and he goes, "I drew it upside down." And no one
you screwed up. It wasn't some overseas problem. It was just Larry had drawn it upside down by mistake.
Oh, and now it's there forever. Well,
it's been there forever, and we've never had anyone catch it before. We never caught it.
We had never caught it. We never heard anybody catch it until we were proofreading or the book or looking over the storyboard that went into this. Said, "Hey, wait a second." Because
it's so perfect for Gambit's character too that he would.
So it's not a great conspiracy. There's no hidden meaning.
It's
upside down ace.
I don't know, I just figured it'd be another Acom cockle.
So that was a lot of fun
fans of us know about Acom. We saw the G1 Transformers cartoons that they did.
Yeah.
Right, I think it is now time to wrap it up. We've been talking for nearly an hour now, guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just saying, it's Sunday night and it's late here in the UK.
Fair enough.
I don't care. When do I get to do this again? Yeah.
So please, behind Eric's head here, we have a website that we don't update like we should, but we will. X-Men TAS. We have a Facebook page, xmentas.com, on Instagram and Twitter. Way too much on Twitter. I spend way too much time on Twitter, but I love interacting with folks who love the show. That's where that comes
Always
from.
fun interacting with the fans.
Yes.
And
So 2017, Eric came out with the oral history.
This,
of
yeah,
X-Men.
I don't know if you got this over this. It's called previously on X-Men, and it's interviews everybody that worked on the show, the cast and crew, the cast, crew, and artists. And
I want one.
and so that was pretty much a very small publisher. We just basically did it ourselves with them, and then Marvel saw this. And at the time, Marvel didn't have all the rights to the show, so we couldn't do a large proper book with images from the show on it.
Yeah.
Then they got their rights back, and they had read this, and they called us and said, "Why? Hey, let's do a complimenting
coffee table art book about the show."
That is very
nice.
I need to get my hands on one of those. It's so gorgeous.
Onto this, thinking, well, obviously we want to do it. They're going to do it with or without us. So in doing this, we had so much fun, just finding. But that was a trick from how many years ago? Can you even find this art? Because it was all hand drawn, and it wasn't saved because back then it cost money to save things.
Yeah.
As we got lucky, some of the artists had kept things. Vanity Galleries in California has a nice deep collection of sales. This was really gratifying. And then we just found out, was it last month?
It's come out in Spanish.
It has been translated into Spanish in Spain. So we're thrilled. Again, no one told us. But we're thrilled with that book. We're thrilled with the previous on X-Men book. We're thrilled to be out there going. You're meeting people.
Love to come to cons, and one of these years there'll be a 2 or 3 con swing in Great Britain.
Please.
Yes. Come
Let
over.
them know.
Let us know. We'll be there. If
Let
you
your
local
con
in the UK, we will try our utmost to be there.
Yeah. We'll go, hey, remember us?
Right, do you want to lead us out then, guys? For the
yes.
evening?
So I think we have to say, Eric, Juliet, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for being my gateway drug into comic books. Thank you for being my gateway drug into the Marvel Universe. You deserve all credit and all success. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
And we are both looking forward massively to X-Men 97.
Gotcha.
And thank you for joining us for this interview.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure, guy. Listen.
Thank you. Right. Mwah. Good night, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Yep. Peace. Bye-bye.
We have such sights to show you.
Get away from her, you bitch!
What a plonker!
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.